This is 7 News Adelaide with Gertie Spurling.
Good afternoon. South Australia is set to keep living it up until 2031, with the state government fending off interest from other states for the hugely successful golf event. As revealed exclusively by 7 News, the tournament will soon have a new home in North Adelaide. Michaela Kamarek has more.
Well, the tournament will stay here at Grange until at least 2028, but beyond that, Greg Norman has big plans to bring it into the heart of the city. Adelaide's contract to host the event was set to expire next year, but after a weekend of intense negotiations and fighting off interest from interstate, the Premier came through with the goods.
To keep LIV Golf in South Australia to 2031.
The news sending the watering hole into a frenzy. As revealed by 7 News, the tournament will move to North Adelaide by 2028, though it could happen sooner. Greg Norman will oversee the design of the new championship course, which will be open to the public the rest of the year.
Golf is on a growth trajectory amongst young girls and young boys. Now they'll be able to play where their heroes play, on a public golf course, right in the centre of our city.
North Adelaide Golf Club is basically a diamond in the rough. And we're going to unpick it for you. You're going to see it.
The upgrade will be fully funded by the state government. The Premier wouldn't say how much it will cost taxpayers, but 7 News understands it's in the vicinity of $15 million.
There's no place we'd rather be than right here in Adelaide.
Crowd numbers this weekend are expected to exceed 100,000. Adelaide undoubtedly the most successful event on LIV's annual calendar.
A man's been arrested over an arson spree in the northern suburbs. Police say the 54-year-old suspect lit 6 fires around Elizabeth South early this morning. 3 of them were rubbish fires and threatened nearby homes. The man's been charged with arson. No one was injured. A Balhanna man could be charged with drink driving over a crash at Frueville early this morning. His Nissan collided with a Holden on Glen Osmond Road just after midnight. Fortunately, the 18-year-old in the Barina wasn't hurt. Police say the SUV driver recorded a positive breath test. He was taken to hospital to have a blood sample taken. A teenager's been arrested over an arson attack at Seaford. Emergency crews were called to the Seaford Central Shopping Centre just before 1 a.m. to find an industrial bin on fire behind the Cheapest Chips. A witness allegedly saw the 15-year-old light the fire and detained him until police arrived. He's also been charged over another fire on Friday and will face court next month. The federal government will pay Nauru to resettle 3 of the 150 criminal detainees released by the High Court. As Mark Riley reports, the government won't say just how much this deal will cost taxpayers.
It won't, but Home Affairs Minister Tony Burke seemed to suggest that it will be less than the cost of keeping the former criminal detainees here in the community. He says these 3 are only the first of many, but they also sound like they're among the worst, described as violent offenders, one of them a murderer. They are now back in detention, their Australian visas revoked, and Tony Burke has given a commitment not to send them to Nauru for at least 7 days, allowing an inevitable High Court challenge to be lodged by refugee advocates. Here's Tony Burke.
As is the case and has been the case for many, many years, we don't go through the details of the costs involved with that, but no cost has been greater than the cost to the Australian community of their crimes.
Opposition leader Peter Dutton says he'll examine the detail of the deal before commenting, as he signals that if the coalition wins the election, it would likely scrap the government's $300 energy bill rebate, sending bills higher, saying voters know that nothing in the world comes for free. Here's Peter Dutton.
You can have a one-off hit where you can say, here's $300, but people aren't stupid. People know that that's not going to survive for the next quarter or next year.
That as new polls show Mr Dutton leading in key marginal seats, and the government adopts another of his policies, announcing that it will ban foreign investors from buying Australian houses for 2 years to take some pressure off demand, something it said it wouldn't do and frankly ridiculed when the coalition announced it 2 years ago. This, of course, follows the government adopting the coalition's policy of mandatory sentences for hate speech crimes, particularly against the Jewish community, removing another point of difference as it prepares for the coming election.
A 23-year-old man has been on a stabbing rampage in southern Austria, injuring 4 people and killing a 14-year-old. A local delivery driver witnessed the incident, using his car to prevent the Syrian national from doing any further damage. The man is in police custody as officers try to determine his motive. Tennis critics and players are outraged over the 3-month doping ban handed to Jannik Sinner. The world number 1 won't miss any Grand Slams, with many calling it too convenient. Here's Bethan Yeoman.
The shock ruling came 2 months before the decision was supposed to be handed down, with many players today calling the process unfair. The ban will now last until May 4 this year, allowing Sinner to rejoin the tour for his home country's Rome Masters, but more significantly for the French Open. The timing of the ban means he won't miss a single Grand Slam, sparking outrage from the tennis community. Nick Kyrgios tweeting "dodgy as," adding "it's a sad day for tennis," while Stan Wawrinka posted, "I don't believe in a clean sport anymore."
It does throw a light on inconsistency in the sport. Players in this situation have had extremely strong bans.
He didn't do anything that was doping per se on purpose. This is what they said, that he did nothing that was to try to enhance his performance.
Some of those other players include 5-time Grand Slam winner Maria Sharapova and former #1 Simona Halep, slapped with 2- and 4-year bans for doping, even though both also insisted it was not intentional. Their bans were reduced on appeal, but still nowhere near as short as Sinner's. The Oz Open champion stands by his claim that the banned substance entered his system through massages and sports therapy.
Red flags have been raised over the money being pumped into a proposed Whyalla hydrogen power plant, now on the brink of collapse. Hear the eye-watering figures after the break. Also, a horror crowd crush on a New Delhi train platform leaves 15 people dead. Chaos as a driver performing a burnout takes out spectators at a street racing event. And cake and cricket to celebrate 50 years of bearing it all at Maslin. There are growing fears the state government's hydrogen dream for Whyalla is on the brink of collapse. The opposition's demanding to know how much money will end up down the drain if the project falls over. There are 55 people working on the $600 million power plant project, including a CEO pocketing $600,000 a year.
That is an eye-watering amount for someone that is effectively not even going to deliver the project that it set out to do.
The Premier has stopped short of guaranteeing the future of the hydrogen plant, but says he's committed to spending the money in Whyalla with or without it. There were tears, hugs and relief after Hamas released a further 3 Israeli hostages in exchange for hundreds of Palestinian prisoners. It's hoped the swap will prolong the life of the ceasefire agreement. Miley Hogan has the latest.
Hamas released 3 Israeli hostages in exchange for hundreds of Palestinian prisoners in a week where the fragile ceasefire deal appeared close to breaking point. American-Israeli hostage Sagi Dekel-Chen was reunited with his wife today after spending nearly 500 days in captivity. She was 8 months pregnant when he was taken hostage. Today he learned for the first time the name of his daughter. Dekel-Chen is one of 3 Israeli men who were released by Hamas. Their release in exchange for 369 Palestinian prisoners and detainees. Earlier this week, the truce appeared close to collapsing after Hamas threatened to pause the release of hostages, accusing Israel of violating the terms of the deal, an allegation denied by Israel and resulting in this ultimatum from US President Donald Trump.
They either have them out by Saturday at 12 o'clock or all bets are off.
That deadline has passed, with the US president posting on social media. Israel will now have to decide what they will do about the deadline imposed on the release of all hostages. The United States will back the decision they make. The deal has always been viewed as fragile, but so far it has been effective. Today marks the 6th successful exchange of hostages for prisoners under phase 1 of the agreement. If it holds, mediators hope the next stages of the ceasefire agreement will lead to the release of all remaining hostages and the full withdrawal of Israeli troops from Gaza, but it's feared those negotiations are not progressing.
10 women and 3 children are among 15 people killed in a crowd crush at New Delhi's railway station. The incident happened last night when 2 train delays saw thousands of passengers crammed onto the platforms. Local police said the situation spiralled out of control for up to 15 minutes due to crowding, resulting in dozens more injured. A woman has dropped her rape lawsuit against rap moguls Jay-Z and Sean Diddy Combs. The woman had accused the pair of raping her in 2000 when she was 13 years old. Her lawyers voluntarily dismissed her case with prejudice, which means it cannot be refiled. Both rappers had denied any wrongdoing. Combs is currently in a New York prison awaiting trial on racketeering and sex trafficking charges. 2 young girls, aged just 8 and 10 years old, have been rushed to hospital after they were bowled over by a car doing a burnout. As Andrew Denny reports, it happened north of Sydney at a street racing event.
Well, this is a very popular street racing spot here in the Hunter Valley, but last night things went very wrong very quickly. Just after midnight, the driver of a Subaru lost control, ploughing into a number of cars and people. 6 bystanders injured, among them 2 little girls aged just 8 and 10 years old.
It is very, very concerning that we've got 8 and 10-year-olds out at a street racing event at that time of night.
Now, this crash sparked a major medical operation, multiple ambulance called to the Hunter Economic Zone, along with a rescue helicopter, ferrying a total of 7 people to Newcastle's John Hunter Hospital.
It is difficult mobilising that number of vehicles. It becomes a situation where we have to triage and prioritise our responses.
The driver was an 18-year-old man. He's now under police guard at the same hospital. His injuries believed to have been largely from bystanders who dragged him out of the car after the crash and attacked him. The Hunter Economic Zone, or HEZ, has a long history of problems with hoons. Police saying crackdowns will now be coming. We spoke with people who were here last night who say they're shocked that such young children were brought along.
Just don't bring your kids out to this type of stuff. Like, it's not safe for them.
One of those little girls is understood to have internal injuries. Another woman with severe head injuries. The driver at this stage is yet to be charged.
There's been a cheeky gathering in Adelaide South to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Australia's first nude beach. Those who like to disrobe at Maslin's say it's a good way to unwind.
It's awesome, isn't it? This beautiful beach, for 50 years, has been a haven for us nudists.
This is a great way to relax, get rid of the stress from the weekly work and come down, get some vitamin D.
They celebrated with cake and a nude cricket match. We'll have all the highlights at 6. Aber joins us after the break with sport as Port Adelaide star Jason Horne-Francis proves he's in for a big year after starring for the Indigenous All-Stars against the Dockers. And the best and the worst of the 36ers on full display as their season goes on the line in Melbourne.
Good afternoon. Port Adelaide star Jason Horne-Francis has showed why he's expected to be in Brownlow medal contention this year after starring for the Indigenous All-Stars against the Dockers in Perth.
Here's Horne-Francis on the burst from 50, lets it go and kicks a fantastic goal. The All-Stars just will it forward though. Rankin flicked it up. Horne-Francis will finish.
Horne-Francis finished with 17 touches and 3 goals in a 43-point win. The Crows and Power will play a pre-season game in Mount Barker on Friday. The Adelaide 36ers season is over after going down by 10 points to the Phoenix in a knockout clash in Melbourne. Adelaide was irresistible in the first half and led by 19 after holding South East Melbourne to its lowest ever half-time score.
Kendrick Davis looks out from halfway. Drop it. Got it! Kendrick Davis fires a bomb from the halfway. They literally cannot miss.
But there's more than one side to the Sixers. Adelaide fell apart completely in the second half, eventually going down 85-75. Adelaide United boss Carl Veart is hoping last night's shock 2-1 loss at home to Newcastle acts as a wake-up call to his playing group. The Reds could have moved 7 points clear in second with a game in hand, but was stunned by the 11th place Jets.
In the games that we've lost, we've been 10-15% below what we need to be at. A big warning sign to the playing group that we can't afford to be 10-15% below our best.
Adelaide unleashed its next generation late with 18-year-old Harry Crawford and 16-year-old Amalani Tatu impressing off the bench. The Reds take on Western United away on Sunday. A hat-trick from new signing Omar Mamouche powered Manchester City to a 4-0 hiding of Newcastle in the Premier League.
City chasing a third. Wow!
City superstar Erling Haaland limped off with a knee injury late in the match. Arsenal closed to within 4 points of ladder leaders Liverpool, beating Leicester City 2-0. The stars of supercars launched season 2025 by taking their Gen 3 races for a spin across the iconic Sydney Harbour Bridge this morning. The 7-car convoy was led by reigning champ Will Brown, who had to resist the temptation to put the hammer down.
It would have been cool if we were up to a bit more speed and doing some skids or something. Some pretty unstable guys around me, so I was making sure I wasn't getting run into or anything like that. We don't want to damage the car before the first round.
The season opening Sydney 500 begins on Friday with a night race. You'll see all the weekend racing live here on 7 and streaming on 7+. Joaquin Niemann has added the LIV Adelaide title to his 2023 Australian Open crown. Showing off his proud Queensland roots, Cam Smith had his best round of the tournament, hitting a 2-under 70 to finish on 1-under.
He is lighting it up today.
Englishman Ian Poulter upstaged Smith's bunker shot, holing out from long range for an eagle on 16, but they were well short of Niemann. The Chilean Allaire held off Abraham Answer to win by 3 shots at 13 under, earning just the $6.3 million in prize money. 6.3 mil. That's our sport for now. Plenty more coming up in our main bulletin at 6 with Mike Smithson and Gertie. What about the LIV News? 3 more years down at Grange, 3 years in North Adelaide. Cannot wait for that. Imagine sport in the city.
I know.
Can't wait.
Very exciting, and I'm sure the players are pretty happy to be here too. They get such a great reception.
Happy, don't worry.
Certainly so. Thanks, Bruce. It's been a more mild day across the city and suburbs, but the summer sunshine will be back in force tomorrow. I'll have the details after the break. Mike Smithson has our main bulletin at 6. And Smitho, what have you got?
Well, Gertie, another huge win for the Premier, as we've seen, but will that extension of LIV Golf appeal to everyone? After the fanfare and dust settles, will North Adelaide Golf Course be a winner? We'll tee off, pardon the pun, at 6 o'clock. The opposition's demanding another please explain over hydrogen. What exactly are we spending the tens of millions of dollars on? Heavily armed staff force officers have swooped on a southern suburbs home. We'll explain why. And in flashback, the infamous day a gunman terrorised Rundle Street and his fatal standoff with police. I was very happy with the team result in the LIV Golf. The Fireballs won.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe you did it. Thanks, Smitho. Well, Australians love a democracy sausage, but in Germany things are a little bit different, as they are here, it seems. Postal voters in the German city of Duisburg were rewarded with a free beer when they cast their ballot. The unconventional campaign tactic, raising awareness among portions of the electorate who typically don't show up to the polls. But it wasn't just a beer up for grabs, with bratwurst also given out to voters. To the weather now, and it's been a warm and mostly sunny afternoon across much of the state. In the city, it was cool overnight. It dropped down to 13 degrees. We hit a top of 24 around 3:30 this afternoon. Right now, it's still 24. Around the country, partly cloudy in Brisbane this afternoon, sitting on 29. Much cooler in Sydney and in Melbourne too, just 17 there. Hobart's had the odd shower. Right now, it's a very cool 14. Hot and sunny in Perth, currently 34. Ex-tropical cyclone Zelia is still bringing showers to far north WA. A low off the coast of New South Wales is driving some light showers and cloud there and over parts of Queensland's coast, while a high in the Bights driving the warm, calm conditions over our state. Dry apart from possible showers and thunderstorms near the western border. Hot and sunny in the far north, reaching 34 in Coober Pedy, 32 in Roxby, 31 in Woomera. Afternoon sea breezes near the coast, mostly sunny and 27 in Port Lincoln, 29 in Whyalla, 32 in Port Augusta, 31 in Port Pirie, 29 in Clare and Renmark. 27's the top for Edithburgh, Kingscote and Naracoorte. Mostly sunny and 25 in Mount Gambier. In the city, down to 13 overnight. 29 is the forecast top. It'll be a lovely sunny day, heating up throughout the week. The details in the full forecast tonight. That's all the news for now. Mike Smithson will have all the day's top stories at 6 o'clock. From me, bye for now.
The 7 News app will give you the news you want every minute of every day, including breaking news alerts. Download the 7 News app now.